Well, Ruchi, I certainly think it's a bit too early to cheer because though there are a number of indicators which do suggest the economy is recovering, let's remember this is on a very low base. Last year, the economy was virtually not performing at all. So, whatever numbers we get, when you compare it to what happened last year, they seem very good. Added to that, there are factors like if you look at the auto sales, these are sales essentially of sales to the dealers. They are not retail sales, these are wholesale numbers. Added to that, there is the fact that bank credit has not looked up at all. In fact, we still see bank credit in the low, less than about 5, between 5 and 6%. The biggest bogey of course, is inflation. We've seen inflation well over 6% for many months now. Barring a few months in between, we've seen both May and June coming in at close to 6.3%. May was 6.3, June was almost 6.3. So that's a bit too early to call. We also don't know whether this kind of recovery that we're seeing will be sustained. Ultimately, if we want demand to pick up, there has to be income generation. Unless the economy looks up and the nature of the recovery is not K-shaped as it is now, highly unequal, I'm not sure the kind of numbers that we are seeing will be sustained. So it's much too early to call, and the IMF recently, in fact, has said that the emerging markets, including India, in fact, they've reduced our rate of growth, projected rate of growth for this year. So I would say it's much too early. Of course, there is the biggest bogey of all. We don't know whether there will be a third wave of COVID. And on that, with numbers looking up, especially in the Northeast and Kerala, infections, as you said, the infection rate is increasing. So I think at the moment we'll have to kind of be a little bit more cautious. Cautious optimism is, I think, what is called for at the moment. Well, it's high time the RBI did look a little bit more seriously at inflation. Unfortunately, both the RBI and the MPC have chosen to see this as essentially transitory, the high inflation, and so far have said that they're going to look through it. I think that will continue in this policy meeting as well, by which we know this Friday we'll know what the MPC decides. But as things stand, the RBI is kind of caught in a bind because they ought to have given some indication of some kind of tapering of the excessive loose monetary policy, which they unfortunately failed to do. Now, with the economy not doing that well, though there are signs of recovery, they clearly cannot do anything as far as the repo rate is concerned. What they perhaps could do and should do is send some kind of signals that they are thinking in terms of perhaps at some stage, little later in the year, easing the monetary policy, making easing the loosening rather, tightening, if not tightening, at least there is some discussion within the MPC of different members looking at it differently, whereas at the moment what we've seen, a complete consensus, unanimity with all the members agreeing with the RBI's point of view that this is transitory, this is a very transient state of affairs, and soon they need to support growth till growth becomes durable. Now, what is durable? How long is this going to continue? These are issues on which we really do not know, given the high level of uncertainty. So the fact is that ultimately, when you put 6 argumentative Indians together and they all come up with just one way of looking at things, you wonder what's happened to Indians. So I do hope that the RBI will send out some signals that they're having second thoughts, and if not now, sometime in the near future, they will think of reversing the excessively easy monetary policy that the RBI has followed for more than a year now.